1968. This is an era that is probably hard for you guys to understand. We coded on paper sheets, we transcribed them by typing into teletypes and onto punch cards. It was a really different world. I'm not sure if you can picture me walking around in high school carrying around these spools of yellow paper tape and these big fanfold printer listings and showing them to my friends, really proud of what I was doing. And I can just tell you, it was not cool at all. Not at all. But the few of us who did this kind of hung out together. We were kind of odd ducks, but we had a lot of fun. We loved to build things. We loved to explore. We loved to write games. We loved to spend hours upon hours talking about these machines and talking about the future and what it all might all mean, what it might all become. 5 years later, in 73 or 74, I was still punching cards at University of Illinois, and I happened to meet an amazing man, a guy by the name of Don Bitzer. Don was a faculty member, but he really stood out. He was different. He had a dream, and he was just very passionate about this dream. And he pursued this dream all the way since about 68, when I was still in high school, and he developed this system that he called Plato. Plato is an acronym, Programmed Logic for Automated Teaching Operations. He had a passion that technology could be used to solve the world's education problems. He really had this vision that he could really change the world by extending teaching and education out to many, many places that didn't have the standard capacity that we all kind of get accustomed to. And in order to do it, even then, and remember this is an era of punch cards, he felt that he needed a terminal, something for students to interact with, a new kind of terminal, something more than just a teletype, something that students could have fun with as a part of doing their lessons. And nothing like this existed, nothing even remotely like this existed. So he just took it very patiently and built one thing at a time until he could achieve his goal. So he started by building this thing called the plasma display panel. And you're probably familiar with it because it's inside of many TVs that are hanging on your walls right now. Then around that plasma display panel, he built a graphics terminal with audio and multimedia and touch. He built thousands of these things and created a worldwide network of tens of thousands of users in little pockets of 4, 8, 16 terminals at schools worldwide. Usage of Plato expanded far beyond the realm of just computer-assisted instruction. It included the authors, of the students who authored the lessons, and so on. And this broad set of users emerged into, if not the first, one of the first online communities, complete with interactive online gaming and online forums and chat and all the things that you've grown to know on the internet. I happen to be one of a handful of systems programmers on Plato, and we got assigned projects from time to time, in the course of our work. And at one point, I was assigned this project to work on something with this guy who I'd never met before. He lived in the next town over, and he was one of these rare people who was allowed to take a terminal to his home, and he pretty much worked from there. And we worked, and I learned so much, because even though I hadn't met him face to face, he would publish the specs for this project in an online discussion forum. And these were beautiful specs. I learned so much about the structure of thinking that led to the structure of the project, that led to the structure of the code. It was really incredible. And when I had a question, I would interact with him in this online discussion forum. Or I'd use the Plato's instant messaging system, which was more like a character at a time chat. And it really drove me nuts, because for as elegant as his specs were, he would just type so slowly. It just was so frustrating. He'd type one letter, another letter, backspace. It was insane. But in any case, after the project was done, a number of us who worked on the project were invited to his house to have a party because the project was successful. And we piled in the car and went over there. I was looking forward to meeting him for the first time. Walked into the house through the door, saw the Plato terminal in the corner. And what I saw then next was well, I was kind of speechless, because this guy who had written these elegant specs, this guy who was this really lousy typist, was a quadriplegic. He was in a wheelchair, he had no use of his arms, no use of his legs, and he was typing with a stick. If there was ever a defining moment in my career, that was really it. Plato, in letting us do what we did together, had transcended the limits of time and location, enabling us to be together even though we needed to work apart. It made me realize that technology could take us beyond the limitations of our bodies, kind of acting like a bridge, like a superconductor between our minds. And ultimately, this experience became the inspiration for my own dreams. You know, as I left college, as I decided what to work on in my spare time, and so on. And this is why I created Notes, this is why I created Groove, this is why I continue to be extremely optimistic about the possibilities in an internet era of distributed work and computer-supported cooperative work across the industry, and of course at Microsoft. In many ways, those of us who were fortunate enough to have used the Plato system in the mid-70s got a little sneak peek at what the web would become nearly 20 years later in the 90s. And how did things like Plato and the web and other such innovations come about? Because of one or two or maybe a handful of creative eccentrics who believed they could change the world, or perhaps didn't know that they couldn't change the world. Ultimately, over the course of all these years, I've had the good fortune to meet and to work with many more of these individuals. Doug Engelbart, I don't know if any of you have heard of him, but if you go search the web for the mother of all demos, he's really the father of computer-supported cooperative work. It's just amazing to look at what he did in that era. Ted Nelson, the inventor of hypertext. Dan Bricklin, inventor of the electronic spreadsheet. Bill Gates, who had this little dream to put a computer on every desk and in every home. One common thread among all of these folks is that they wanted to change the world for the better. It wasn't enough to be a technologist or to be enamored with the capabilities of technology. For those of us who learned to program when we were very young and did so much programming in our early years, we soon were able to forget about the technology and just treat it as a tool, like clay that can be molded into anything that you want. Software is the ultimate pliable medium. That's why I love software. And all of us got accustomed to knowing that we could make software do just about anything that we could imagine. And so we could step up and think more about for what purpose we're developing software, toward what end. We'd dream, and then we'd be able to suspend disbelief because we knew we had a tool with which we could realize those dreams. I thought I'd share the story with you because I want you to truly appreciate that what's possible really is mostly just a function of your creativity and how boldly you dare to dream. If I could just give you a few thoughts to walk away with, the first one would really be to feel great about being here, just being here. It's a tremendous accomplishment. It says something not just about your skills, which is really the price of entry, not just here, but to our industry, but also it says something amazing about your creativity in how technology can be applied to a problem. You've proven through your work that if you can imagine it, you can build it. Number two, and this is not something that you hear a lot about, but if you care about something, if you really deeply care about something, you have to get used to being relentless, to persevering. There are going to be a lot of obstacles over the course of your career, a lot of naysayers, a lot of things you're going to need to overcome. Don't let them get you down. It's hard. If they do get you down, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and start all over again. Number three, feel good about yourself. This may not pertain to everybody here, but for those of you who might have been labeled that you were a little bit weird, just ignore it. It's only by being a little bit different by thinking a little bit differently.